My name is Kevin with Veilux, and today I'm going to talk about the Veilux NVXR-64, and I'm going to step you through some of the steps that you need to in order to work the NVR, and we've got a couple of cameras. First off, I want to talk about when you install the NVR and where you want the data to go to. You want the data to go to a certain partition or a certain hard drive that has no other data information on it, due to the massive amount of information that is written and every now and then overwriting some old files and everything. You do not want this to go to your main file, as in your C drive, or go to a secondary storage drive that you have data information stored on. So therefore, when you input the following information on where do you want to send the data to, you do not want to send it to any hard drives that have data or a partition that has data. You can actually buy large amounts of hard drives these days, and you can split it in different partitions and have just a certain partition dedicated for the NVXR-64. Second, automatic Windows upgrade settings. If you specify a time for automatic upgrades for your Windows operating system, the automatic upgrade can cause a reboot or system halt. Automatic upgrades of a Windows system is not recommended. Multi-monitor devices for NVIDIA chipsets can also cause reboots and system halts, and we do not recommend using NVIDIA chipsets for our NVRs. It could cause some issues. The time reference of the NVXR-64 includes a feature that is a time reference. The NVR or the NVXR-64 refers to a time set of PC operations. This is very important to keep the clock of the PC precise. The time which is displayed beneath each screen in white letters for real-time connections. This time information sent to the network and the cameras. We only have one of them enabled with the time right now, and as we can see, it shows the date or the year, month, date, and then it shows the time that we're actually doing this video. So on this one, it shows, as I said, the date, the month, the year, the month, and then the date. And that can be time-stamped on every camera if you choose to have it time-stamped. Also, you do not want to change parameters related to the network configuration while the NVXR-64 has a video connection with corresponding devices. You do not want to run applications or other NVXR-64 on the same PC. This can cause instability in performance and degradation of the NVXR-64. When you install the NVXR-64, you will see two programs that will show up. One is called the IP installer, which you will see right here that I've just put on the screen. The next one is called the NVXR-64. This is to pull up the program that we are currently looking at right now. When you install the NVXR-64, it will automatically install an event log that can be played in ICF Player. This program will be installed automatically upon the installation of the NVXR-64. Next, on some certain servers that Veilux build, with the request, we can put a 64-channel IP camera assignment on it. And you will have 4 different channels up here. This one we only have one channel, and this is on a 16 channel that comes with the Veilux software. But as I said, upon special request on the servers we build, if you request for the 64 channel, we can build a server that has the Veilux NVR 64-bit with 64 channels, and you will have 4 different windows up here to view 16 cameras in each channel. Next, here you can change from different screens, from screen to screen to screen to screen if you want live view. Same thing If you had it in smaller, you could move the arrows to different screens. Next, you can go here and click on the screen to enlarge it, and then go to screen, or you can double click and go back to all the small screens, or you could just click on the camera you want to view and go large screen that way as well. Here it will go 4, so you can click on here and it will go to a 4-screen display. You can hit this and this will take you back to the normal way that you were looking at. Here you can tilt and resize the screen. Let's say we want the first screen to be very large. So we can do this, hit check, and now the first screen is large and all the other screens are smaller, and then you would have to use the arrows to go to the next screen, and on to the second page which we just got to. Let's go ahead and make this back to our normal screen the way we had it. Now, here is camera assignment. Okay, showing screen 1 here, and it shows that we have one camera here with the default passwords on the cameras is called roots. Default password is admin, and then we have this port open on our router with this IP. Second camera, we have this one again, or this IP with the default or username as roots and the default password as admin, and the port open on our router is 5000. This next one is not connected to this unit. We left this on here on another unit that we were going to have 3 cameras, but we do not have this camera currently hooked up right now. Next is the hard drive settings. This is where we're telling the information to go to when you're recording. If you want to add a folder, you would just go down here and you would type in another path drive name that you would like to add the folder, and you could add a new folder. Or you would have to actually select the drive, You have to actually select the drive, go to My Computer, and select the drive that you want all the information to go to. Then once you select that drive, then you would hit OK, and it would automatically create a file called NVR record. We've already got that here, so we don't need to do that. In order to add one, let's say that we went to the C drive and hit OK, it would create this one. In order to add it, you would add this one. You would click this button to add it. Let's say for this one right here, we wanted to delete it, then you would highlight it and then hit remove device, and this would remove the device. And then, as I said, to search like we just did, you would click this button right here. Next is if you would like to schedule a recording, alarms. If you'd like to set up an alarm, you would go here. Here you would type in how long do you want the recording to last. Do you want 1 minute? Do you want 2 minutes? Do you want 3 minutes? Depending on how long you want the alarm to go. Here you can enable this and search for different sounds that you would like your unit to make. If you want, when the alarm goes off and you have speakers hooked up to your PC would actually make a sound letting you know one of your alarms are going off. Here you can enable and disable certain units on the actual alarms. Let's say you don't want the alarms on these activated, you would just click on them and you would remove the alarms on the units. Then you would click OK or check for OK, X for to cancel. Next, you have something called schedule. Here you can schedule certain times to be recorded and certain times not to be recorded. Red is for single channel, but let's say you want to do more than one channel. You can select this option, and this will do channel 1, 2, or how many ever channels you select down here. Or you can select here, and it will change to a tealish green color, and this is to tell it to record all channels. So you can set single, you can set multiple depending on which channels you would like to choose, or you could select all and have them all going. Here is playback mode. I'm going to touch briefly on playback mode due to we do not have anything right now on here to actually do playback. But here you would choose the time and date you would like to play back. Okay. Next, you can choose which screens to play it on, and then the type, start, channel, IP, and description. Here you can rotate the screens on the playback, and you can do captures, you can forward fast, rerun, do frame seconds, pause, stop, play, and forward fast and everything else on this one. So you can actually do what is a cool feature is capture. You can do BMP files, so therefore you can print them out and everything to give it to a police, or you can get just a small segment and copy it to a CD and give it to them if you have like a break-in or something. But as I said, I'm not going to go into playback too much because we do not have any footage right now that is recorded. Next, I'm going to talk about, you have 16 channels here. Every 16 channels, you can set up 4 relays on and off. Here is capture. Here you would click here, and this would make a still image of the camera that you have highlighted. And then you could hit OK and actually save this file. And you could actually rename the file to whatever you want it. This default usually is basically the IP with the date and a timestamp on it. Or you can label it whatever you would like. Next is you can rotate the screen. This right here will allow you to rotate it. Let's say you installed a camera. Well, here you can actually rotate it and see it upright instead of sideways, upside down, or diagonal, or upside down or upright. This will allow you to rotate the screen. Next is if you have audio and you want to enable the audio, you would click here. The next is display options. This is, let's say you want to brighten the screen on the unit. You want to brighten the screen like we just did, or you want to, or the contrast, or brighten the screen. We're set up the contrast. And then if you have volume enabled on the unit, you can up the volume, you can mute the volume, or you can actually mix them with all of the audios going in together if you have more than one camera with the audio. Next, I'm going to show you cameras. This right here are the functions of the PTZ. This is where you can move the PTZ left, or you can move it right. You can also move it up. Well, this one is actually pushed up all the way. Sorry about that. You can go down, or you could go up. Okay. Next, you can adjust the focus, autofocus, or negative focus. In order to adjust how the camera was moving so fast, you can actually adjust the pan, the tilt, and the zoom, and you can go the speed or the steps. Let's move this all down, and I'll show you a demo of this. Now, as you can notice, look how slow the speed of the camera is now. How a while ago it jumped really fast over, and then it jumped really fast backwards and everything. Now the camera is moving really slow. Also the zoom, which we did not do it before this, it would zoom in all the way and all the way out in one click of the button. Now it's doing baby steps closer and closer to this slowly. And this is how you can adjust the zoom and tilt if you do not want it to tilt all the way to one side, like almost a 90 degree to 45 degrees. Here you could just set the adjustments. Here on the PTZ options is where you would set those adjustments at. Home. If you have a home position set, you would click here and it would automatically go to the home position. Next is centering. You click here and now it's green. You click on this picture and it would centerize this picture. click on this picture, and the camera would centerize itself to move to wherever. If you click wherever you click, it would make where you clicked at the center of the actual picture. Next is presets. If we had presets set up on this camera, we could highlight them and have it going from preset to preset to preset, but since we do not have any presets, I'm going to briefly touch on this because we do not have any presets set up on this camera. Next, I want to touch on the IP installer. This right here is very critical in order to install the cameras and let it know. Now on this one we have two different network cards installed on our PC. They're actually going through this one, so since I already know, I'm going to choose the one that the network is on. Here it's going to bring up the IP installer information. Here you will hit refresh. Here it will show you the cameras that you have hooked up. It's showing the VVIP 2L316, which is this camera right here, and then it's showing the VPIP, which is this camera right here. This is actually a 27x camera. Now you can click on each one of these, and we've got static IPs, and then you would put in a web port and the RSTP port for each one of these. You can actually make it automatic, or you can make it ADSL. But on this one, since we're on a local network, we have to have a static IP. But most people would use the auto DHCP. Okay, the default web port would be 80. The RSTP or the RTSP port would be 554. And then once you set or make your changes and everything, you would hit set in order to save the changes. And then it would actually reboot the server and everything, or reboot the actual camera system. And this may take a while. When you hit refresh, you may have to wait a couple of minutes for it to actually find the camera. After you make changes, the camera may not be shown until about 2 to 3 minutes later, depending on the settings that you changed. Next, I'm going to talk about the system controller. Here, if you have your camera set up correctly, you can actually go into the OSD menu of the IP camera. Here, you would go one cam or select the ID, and then you would hit menu. It does take a while for it to bring up the menu. Once the menu comes up, here is where you have your different settings that you can do on the camera. You can set the cameras, the presets, the auto scan, the tour, the privacy, the patterns, the alarm, the sector, and exit. You can control by going to each submenu by using these up and down arrow keys. And then you would go here to go into it, and then you would use this to get out. I'm not going to go through too much of the IP camera settings in this program, but in a later chapter I will be in another one showing you how to set each and every one of these through the IP side. We've already got the auto tracking set up, but the IPs are not set up at this time. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and hit the exit. In order to exit, you would hit this button in order to exit out of the menu. Now the menu is gone. And in order to get out of this menu, you would just hit X. If you would like to change cameras, you would hit like 2 cam menu, 3 cam menu, in order to access camera to camera to camera, depending on how many cameras you have. And depending if they are a PTZ, and you can access the camera through the PTZ, and all your dip switches are set correctly. Another item I will briefly touch on that I'm not going to go in detail depth on, but on another video we will go detail or in depth detail, is the admin function. This, when you click on this, will bring up Windows Explorer. And here, once you get into Windows Explorer, it's going to ask for a username and password. The default username and password for the Veilux PTZs is root on this one, not roots like you would in the other one. It's root on here, and admin, ADMIN, all lowercase, and also root is also all lowercase. Hit OK, and this will take you to the admin page of the PTZ, or of the actual program. Here you've got many options that you can set up and go through, but as I state, right now we are not going to touch these right now. Later on in another segment video, we will go into detailed depth on this program. The final step is you can record by hitting the record button. You can hit stop to stop recording, and you could hit play to start. I will let you know, on some items, some of the cameras will take a while to come up depending on your network speed and depending on if it's a megapixel, non-megapixel camera and all that. Some of them does take a while to come up due to how much data transferring they do have and how much information you've got going onto your network. This was a brief description going over the information of the Veilux NVXR-64 program.